Welcome to Dayspring Life and Health Channel. Today we're going to talk about the new superbug, new COVID superbug. It's a new COVID-19 virus that has been developed by researchers at Boston University. And we want to talk about the potential danger for this development and what it is actually they did. Now, researchers at Boston University have done research in what we call the gain of function research, where they put two of these viruses together to produce a hybrid virus to see what that hybrid virus could potentially do. And they have come out with a very deadly one, what I call a super bug for COVID. If this virus that they have developed gets out into the community, it's going to be more serious than we have known COVID-19 to be, the SARS-CoV-2 virus to be. The original virus has mutated several times, at least that we know of, which has produced one that we know of as the Delta variant. And then recently in 2020, also, I think 2021, also we saw the Omicron variant. Now, the initial virus that came out of China was very deadly. That is what we know was killing a lot of people. And then eventually, when it also mutated into the Omicron, what we found out was that the Omicron had a potential to spread very quickly, while it wasn't as deadly compared to the previous virus that we had known. So let's take a look. I'm going to do a little bit of a drawing just to explain what they did. They took the more deadly virus, which we knew in the past, 2020, 2019, killing more people, but could not spread as quickly as it could. I mean, it was spreading, right? But compared to Omicron, that wasn't spreading as fast as Omicron did. So let's say that is this virus right here, the blue. And then, as you know, COVID SARS-2 has spike proteins. So we are also going to say that the spike proteins on this virus was like that. So kind of like a sun, right? So these are the proteins that are found on the virus, most of which is used for attachment and penetration to cells and stuff like that. So that is the initial virus. Let me change that to something like that. So that was the initial COVID SARS-2 virus. All right. And then from this virus, what the researchers did is they took the one which is known as the Omicron, which has different spike proteins. So I would say I'll give that a red spike protein right there. Those proteins were the ones that help the Omicron. So this is Omicron with the red spikes, which spread like wildfire, but mild. The other thing is Omicron also, even though could escape our vaccines that we have already received, our immunizations and vaccine immunities that we have, Omicron could escape it because of the way it is able to attach or spread through the virus proteins, the spike proteins that are on top of the virus here. So they took this and married it with the deadly one. So, and then they came up with a new virus, which I think is the superbug. And I'm going to use red to draw this virus because it's going to be what I call the superbug. So they produce a superbug, which I would also give it a red spike proteins right here. And they call this superbug OMI-S. OMI-S. So what is the implications of this superbug? So we have regular or initial COVID SARS-2 married or crossed, as you can say, with regular Omicron, which spreads like wildfire. So this virus was deadly. So this is more deadly. More deadly. This one is less deadly. Less deadly, but spreads fast. Spreads faster. They married this less deadly but spreads like wildfire using the spike proteins on this. They put it on this one, which has a different spike protein, but which doesn't make it spread like wildfire. And then they produced this new one, which is called the OMI-S, which I call the super COVID-19 virus, the superbug. This is because this OMI-S that we have found from Boston lab, Boston University's lab scientists, produces 30% more infectious, 30% more infectious particles, or however you can call it. So this OMI-S, if you think about how Omicron spreads, that almost everybody that I know got Omicron, and people are still getting Omicron because it spreads very fast. And you have seen that in the mice that were introduced to the OMI-S virus, they got more particles. There's more replication, more viruses were produced quicker than just the regular Omicron. And that's what the study actually did. So point number one for the OMI-S is spreads faster. Point number two is that this new virus, which is the OMI-S, is deadlier. In the mice that they studied in, 80% of the mice died. 80%, think about it, 80% of the mice that were infected with the OMI-S hybrid virus that was produced, or what I call the superbug, 80% of the mice died. That is how serious it is. And you may say that, well, this was done in mice. In people, it may not be like that. I agree, except for the fact that they did not just do this. They also introduced a gene into the mice that is from humans. That gene is able to code for the proteins or similarities of the proteins that we have in our organs in the lung. So basically, they have tried to manipulate the mouse's own respiratory system to look like our system, so that whatever effect is being shown in the mouse, though we cannot say 100% it's going to be like that in humans, we can assume that it's going to be close. And that is why I am sounding off this alarm. And I'm not the only one in this particular group of people who are saying that this is dangerous. A lot of scientists are saying that this is dangerous. And it makes sense. If you take a virus that spreads only mildly, and then you add it to you make it, or you change it by making again a new function of spreading faster, and not just faster, but carrying more deadly traits, then you make a superbug. And that is what the researchers at Boston University have produced, the OMI-S. So yes, the first point is that the OMI-S virus, which is a new COVID superbug that they have produced in the lab, spreads faster than Omicron. Think about it. Second point, as you may have already found out, is that it is more deadly. As I said, 80% of the mice that were introduced or infected with this OMI-S virus died, compared to those who were introduced or infected with Omicron, original Omicron that we are used to. So think about it. If you got Omicron and you got over it easily, this time it's not going to be easier if you got the OMI-S. There's also an increased chance of increased mortality if it is going to be 80%, which you cannot guarantee. It could be 80%, as a matter of fact, it could be less, and it could also be more, because we cannot completely compare to the mouse. So that is the danger in this new OMI-S virus. that has been produced in the lab. Fingers crossed, it's still safely kept in the lab. But if it comes out of the lab, if perchance one person who works in the lab or in the school, in BU, if one scientist gets infected, you can guarantee that they are going to infect some other people. And if they do, that is the new pandemic right there. And that is why people are crying. And I'm going to add my voice to it, that the National Institutes of Health and whoever is CDC, whoever is responsible, must ensure that this kind of experiment doesn't proceed in any other parts of the world, especially in the US. And they should do everything in their capacity to stop this particular study from going forward, or clean up the lab and make sure that this virus doesn't even exist for any future transmissions. Because I can assure you, if this virus comes out of the lab and infects any human being, we have a new pandemic on our hands. Not going to be something easy if this actually happens. The implications for me to you is, maybe you may be asking, so what should I care about this? Well, for me, if you are watching this, I'll tell you, if you are not vaccinated, make sure you do it right away, because should this thing get out, it will make a difference between those whose body have seen the virus before than those who have never been vaccinated. Moreover, if your vaccine is lapsed, if you haven't finished all the series, you haven't received the new bivalent, this is also a good opportunity for you to get yourself protected. Beloved, I wish above all things that you prosper and be in health, even as your soul prospers.